Just stay out of my way. I'm tired of waiting. Bring it. Come on already. I'm already there. Enlighten me. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. The time has come. What's your call? I sense their fear.
Who wants some? This better be good.
Bring it. I'm already there. Enlighten me. I sense their fear. The time has come.
Looking forward to it.
Just stay out of my way.
Been waiting on you.
Come on already.
Yes, sir.
Mercy is feed the rage. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak.
Outstanding.
One step ahead. The time has come. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead.
Orders received.
Got it. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Time has come. Just stay out of my way. I sense them. What's your call? The time has come. One step ahead. Feed the rage. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak.
Got it. Affirmative. I'm on it.
I sense their fear. Enlighten me. The time has come. Feed the rage. One step ahead. Mercy is for the... Bring it. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. What's your call? Feed the rage. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Enlighten me. I'm already...
Who wants some?
Bring it. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead.
This better be good.
It's your call. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I sense their fear. The time has come. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. I'm already there. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I'm already there. What's your call? Feed the rage. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy. One time. Bring it.
I'm on it. You gonna give me...
What's your call?
Been waiting.
Enlighten. Come on already. Bring it.
Who wants?
I'm tired of waiting. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead.
Armed and ready.
What's your call?
This better be...
Bring it. I'm already there.
You gonna give me orders?
Feed the ring. Come on already. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. I'm already there. I sense their fear. I'm already there. The time has come. Already. I'm already there. One step ahead. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. One step ahead. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. The time has come. One step ahead. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. The time has come. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step is for the weak. One step ahead. The time has come. Just stay out of my way.
By the numbers.
Feed the rage.
Armed and ready.
Come on already. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. The time has come. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. The time has come. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. The time has come. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I'm already there. The time has come. One step ahead. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. I sense their fear. The time has come. The time has come. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. Execute. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. The time has come. I'm dying anyway. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. I sense their fear. The time has come. I sense their fear. I'm already there. The time has come. I'm already there. I sense their fear. I'm already there. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. I'm already there. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. I'm already there. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. The time has come. I'm already there. The time has come. I'm already there. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. The time has come. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. already there. The time has come. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Come on already. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I'm already there. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. The time has come. I sense their fear. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. I sense their fear. One step ahead. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. The time has come. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. The time has come. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. I'm already there. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. Time has come. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. Enlighten me. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. Come on already. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. The time has come. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. The time has come. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. One step ahead. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I'm already there. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. The time has come. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I sense fear. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. The time has come. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. The time has come. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. The time has come. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. time has come. I sense their fear. The time has come. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. The time has come. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I sense their fear. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. One step ahead. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I sense their fear. The time has come. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. I sense their fear. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I sense their fear. One step ahead. The time has come. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. The time has come. I'm already there. One step ahead. The time has come. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. The time has come. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. I'm already there. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I'm already there. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. I'm already there. The time has come. One step ahead. I sense their fear. I'm already there. I sense their fear. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. The time has come. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. I'm already there. I'm already there. One step ahead. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. The time has come. I sense their fear. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. One step ahead. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. The time has come. One step ahead. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. The time has come. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. One step ahead. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. The time has come. The time has come. I'm already there. I sense their fear. One step ahead. One step ahead. I sense their fear. I'm already there. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. The time has come. One step ahead. Just stay out of my way. I'm already there. One step ahead. I sense their fear. I'm already there. The time has come. I'm already there. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. The time has come. Just stay out of my way. The time has come. I'm already there. What's your call? The time has come. One step ahead. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I'm already there. One step ahead. I'm already there. One step ahead. I'm already there. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. I sense their fear. The time has come. One step ahead. I sense their fear. I'm already there. Just stay out of my way. Mercy is for the weak. The time has come. I sense their fear. Just stay out of my way. One step ahead. Mercy is for the weak. I sense their fear. One step ahead. I'm already there. The time has come. Mercy is for the weak. Just stay out of my way.
Victory!